Welcome back to The Take, taking a look right now at the White House on this Friday, where President Trump will be meeting today with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. This comes a day after the president said he will meet again with Russian President Vladimir Putin in a push to end Russia's war on Ukraine. Joining us now is NBC Washington correspondent Alice Barr. Alice, always good to have you on. What are we expecting each side to bring to the table today during these meetings?
Well, it's important to note, for one thing, that Ukraine's president enters the White House today in a strengthened position with President Trump compared to some of their past meetings. The president posted just last month that with the support of Europe, he believes that Ukraine is in position to take back all of its territory from Russia. That is a major shift in rhetoric from the president, and the Ukrainians are hoping to turn it into real battleground backing. So the main thing that Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is said to be seeking today is Tomahawk missile systems that can reach deep into Russia, could allow Ukraine to go on the offensive more forcefully against Russia. And he's going to make his case for why that's necessary. There's been some rumblings within the Trump administration of late that that is something that they might consider allowing. But President Trump was asked about this just yesterday, and he said, I don't know what we can do about that, about providing the Tomahawks. He said that this is something that America needs as well, and that he doesn't want to deplete this country's Tomahawk missile system, even though he acknowledged that there's quite a good stockpile to, provide those to Ukraine. So that's the main thing that Ukraine is coming in looking for. And then President Trump is just kind of wading back into these negotiations and trying to maybe come up with a foothold to try to get some progress on what has been an incredibly just deadlocked and deadly conflict for 3 years plus now.
It certainly has been. All right, let's talk, Alice, about Vladimir Putin. He certainly continues to be a thorn in President Trump's side. What are we hearing from Moscow this morning on today's talks in Washington?
So there has been a clear message from both President Putin and from other top Russian officials that any Tomahawk transfer, sale or transfer of any kind from the U.S. to Ukraine would significantly damage U.S.-Russia relations. They do not want to see that happen. Zelensky, for his part, said that he thinks that the threat, the very discussion of potentially having these weapons provided to Ukraine, is what forced Moscow back to the table to resume negotiations. And again, there was this meeting yesterday, or phone call yesterday rather, between President Trump and Russian President Putin that President Trump said was very productive and that he hopes could be parlayed into another meeting, and then ultimately kind of brokering some sort of agreement between the two sides, as he just successfully managed to, broker that ceasefire in the Middle East.
Yeah, big news this week. So Alice, sticking overseas before you go, I understand you also have some new developments in the U.S. strikes on Venezuelan drug cartels. What are you learning about that?
Yeah, this is something we've been tracking as well. A lot of rapid developments. Just yesterday, there was another boat hit in the Caribbean Peninsula that the U.S. military struck, and the Trump administration is saying that this was a Venezuelan drug cartel boat that they hit, and this is at least the fifth time that this has happened. This is the first time that there were survivors left after one of these strikes on a boat in the Caribbean. And it comes amid word of the top U.S. military officer overseeing operations in the region abruptly retiring without any kind of public explanation as to why that's happening. Also this week, President Trump made the really stunning admission that he had authorized covert CIA operations inside Venezuela. Unusual for a president to comment about covert CIA operations, but again, just gives the broader picture that there is a lot of focus on Venezuela right now, militarily, operationally, CIA operationally, and leave some questions about where this is headed.
All right, Alice Barr, a lot happening as we head into this weekend. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.